The Blues and Beyond is excited to announce our latest chapter, Fighting for Civil Rights, the Music and the Movement. We start our program out with a live in-person performance from our masterclass musicians. And we have 4 in-depth lesson plans that focus on the music and history of this timeline. Prologue. The music of the Civil Rights Movement is rooted in freedom songs, which trace their lineage back to the African American styles and traditions of music prevalent during slavery in America. Freedom songs also utilized the congregational style of singing found in African American churches. Lesson 1, entitled World War II, Swing to Bop, asked the compelling historical question. 1. In what ways did African Americans contribute to America's success in World War II? And then dives into the music of this era. Bebop was created by African American musicians at the after-hours jam sessions of the late 1930s and early 1940s at clubs like Mittens in Harlem. Yes, it's great, just one way. Everybody likes my Rocket 88. Lesson 2, entitled Fighting Segregation in Education and Transportation, Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll. In what ways were African American and white rock and roll musicians treated differently on the road to their gigs? In 1954, despite a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court in the Brown versus the Board of Education case, which ruled segregation in schools to be unconstitutional, many state and local governments and communities, particularly in the Jim Crow South, refused to accept the ruling and implement changes. I was born by the river. Lesson 3, entitled Direct Action by Young People, the Spark of Soul Music. So let's talk about this. What have young people done to bring about lasting social changes since the 1950s? African American musicians developed a new style that would become the soundtrack of the civil rights movement: soul music. At its core, soul music is a synthesis of gospel and rhythm and blues. Come on, come on. We end our 4th lesson, Civil Rights Laws and Impact of the Movement, Get Up, Get Into It, Get Involved, with this final gripping question. From where you stand today, did the Civil Rights Movement succeed? African Americans continued the push to break down centuries-old racial barriers in the South, where local governments and citizens looked to preserve the policies of the Jim Crow era. That said, this era was also a time of musical and artistic growth and experimentation in which the boundaries between styles and genres began to fade away. Funk chronicled and reflected African American life, with lyrical themes that continued to strive for equal rights, implored African Americans to be proud of their heritage, and encouraged people everywhere to stay active in the fight to preserve and expand upon the hard-won legal and cultural changes of the civil rights movement. Our culminating activity is to challenge your students to write down their thoughts to promote social change. Replace the lyrics to either Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come or We Shall Overcome with your students' own point of view. That we must